So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the second session of Teacher Certification Program. I'm briefly introduce myself. My name is Ankur Chaturvedi. I am working as a senior education specialist in Varthana, and here in this session, Chiranjeev Dua is a co-presentator with me. Now, in this session, we will discuss the scaffolding, complex learning, or teaching for mastery. This is the topic we will discuss in this session, the importance and the concept and limitation of scaffolding, and some of the strategies of scaffolding, and what are the key stages of scaffolding with some of the classroom practical examples. And we can club together the strategy with the stages with some of the classroom examples. And after that, we will practice the concept with the help of case study and with the help of some reflection questions. And after that, summary and the feedback and closing at the end. So the objective of this session is to, teacher will able to understand what is the scaffolding, the importance of scaffolding and different strategies, and how they can use the scaffolding to design their lesson plans for complex topics. Step by step, we will discuss in the further section of this session. So before we begin, let's take a moment of a brief reflection, and think about your classroom where you have taught any complex topic recently. So you can consider these three questions, and what one's complex topics or schools you have taught recently in your classroom, and where did the students struggle the most, and how did you support them? How did you support the student to overcome the complex problem or concepts? You have used any kind of strategy, any kind of activities, so you can unmute yourself and share your opinion. I'm kindly requesting all of you to please share your opinion, because it's also very valuable for other participants. What's the one complex topic you have taught recently in the classroom? Anyone can share your experience or your thoughts on these questions. You can unmute yourself. You can also share your thoughts in the chat box. What's the one complex topic you have or skills you have taught recently? I request you all to. I need your active participant in the some of the activities which are included in the session. So please, I insist, if you want to share your opinion, kindly unmute yourself. We can go further. So now we will discuss what is scaffolding. So as you can see in the pictures, scaffolding is a core concept in our work environment, and the term scaffolding comes from a construction world, as you can see in the given picture. So think about a construction site of building a new skyscraper or building a very tall or high building. So they don't just start with the final structure of the building. First, they build a temporary supportive framework around it. And you can see in the pictures in the second one, okay, they build a supportive framework for the building the skyscraper. And this framework, the scaffolding in the construction world, this framework is called the scaffolding. So it gives worker a safe and stable platform to build on, and it holds up the structure until it's strong enough to stand on its own, like you can see in the first one. So same as in the education sector, the definition is very similar to the construction world. Scaffolding is an instructional practice where we as a teacher provide temporary support for the content, processes or learning strategies. We provide a safety net and a strong foundation to our students. And this is after during the scaffolding process, the most crucial stages of the scaffolding is to, after the third stage, you can gradually remove that support as our student build their own competency and confidence. So after the completion of the building, the workers remove the framework or supporting structure of the which they are used to build the structure. So same as in scaffolding, we gradually remove the support after the student got the mastery in a complex topic. So without this practice also helps us to bridge the gap between what the student knows actually and what they really need to know. So we can use this strategy to break down the complex topics into a simple step. Now we discuss the what is the scaffolding means, and we connect the with the construction world example. Now we will discuss the what is the scaffolding matters, what the importance of scaffolding in our education practices. So the first one one is it breaks down complexity. So in the starting of the session reflection question, I mentioned that if you taught any recent complex topic recently in your classroom, to suppose that there is a very complex topic and scaffolding allow us to break down big and very complex topics into a smaller one, into a stepwise process, into a structural process, and more manageable process for the students also. So this whole process makes the learning very feel very more achievable for the student, more doable for the student, and also more manageable for the student. So when the students are given the right amount of support at the right time, they are more likely to succeed, more likely to solve the complex problem easily. And this small success builds their confidence and reduces the frustration they often face with different type of different material or different complex topics. So it breaks down the complexity in the class for the complex topics, and also it builds the students' confidence because they will be able to solve the complex problem easily, and they understand the topics and the concept very very in a stepwise manner, in the process manner, in the structure manner. So it helps student to build the confidence, and also it encourages independence. So the ultimate goal as educator, we want to create an independent learner. So scaffolding is the process of I do, we do, and you do of teaching. So then when we fade back, allow student to take the ownership of their own learning, allow student to take to solve the complex problem individually. So it encourages independence among the students, and also deepens understanding. So as already mentioned, that is break down the complexity, build confidence, and encourage independence. So it's also the process. This is the very structured process with the बिल्कुल the main key stages are followed during the process. So it depends students understanding related to the complex topics, to any topics. Now it's we face a lot of challenges and limitation while we implementing the scaffolding in the classroom. So we discuss some of the challenges, so we can plan and structure the scaffolding process productively in the classroom. So the first one is it's a very time consuming process. So scaffolding requires careful preparation, careful planning, designing effective support system for the students and also for the individual students. So it consists the feedback, it consists the overall designing and planning for the particular student also. So it takes a very very time consuming process for the, and also it's the teacher schedule is very busy. So sometimes we face the challenges of time duration while implementing the scaffolding. And also second way, large classroom. Suppose if you have a large classroom and the strength is very max, so it's very difficult for us to provide personalized scaffolding for every student. So when you may have to find ways to scaffold for the group of students instead of individual. So it's also there is a it is also a very main challenges why we are facing the implementation of scaffolding in classroom. And the third one is dependence. So scaffolding, if we don't fade the support at the crucial time, the student might become the dependent on it. So it also very important to fade away the support while we giving the students by solving the complex problem, and it's a very crucial step. So somewhat sometimes the student face very dependence on the teachers, so it's also a kind of challenge while implementing the scaffolding. And the planning challenge. So scaffolding is a dynamic process, is a very planned and structured process. So it requires to very flexible and constantly assess where your students are. So it's a need a very kind of very structural planning. So it's also key challenges why we will face during the implementation of scaffolding. Now we will understand, we will discuss the stages of scaffolding. The great work follows some of the this great strategy follows some of the key stages. The first stage is to introduce. So this is the starting point of the scaffolding. You have to present a new concept to the students, and the most crucial part here is to connect the new information with the what student already know. So in the beginning of the session, I mentioned that the scaffolding the process the student what student know and what student need to know, and very it's helps them to find a familiar, familiar connection with the prior knowledge, means what they know before the complex topic. And during the stage you will provide lots of support, cues, hints, visual and examples to support them to solve the problem. So support, yes. The third is stages is the guide. So in the second is stage, when the student begins to practice the new skills, but with your help and support. So you provided cues, hints, visual examples, some of the TLMs which are related to the complex topics. So after that, the teacher can guide to the student to how to solve the problem and provide a constructive and stepwise process to the students, so they can solve the problem easily. And in the meantime, teachers give the continuous feedback to the student, what they are meeting them, what they did well, and what was their mistakes, what is the area of improvement. So we guide them accordingly. And this is the most crucial stage of scaffolding. The moment, yeah, the stage, that the students are able to solve the questions individually. So you will gradually reduce the support and the guide and the cues and hints you are using to give students a very structure to break down the complex topics into a smaller one. So it also, the stages encourages student to attempt the task on their own, attempt the task and their individual strength. So it feels a bit uncomfortable at first, but this is a crucial topic, like we discussed in the construction example. After the before the construction of a building, workers use the framework, and after the construction of building they remove the framework. So this is the very crucial point and stage of the scaffolding process, the feeding the support and guide. And the last stage is the mastery, where students are able to apply their knowledge confidently and independently. They understand the topics, concept of complexity, and it's like they are their own. They can solve the problem independently, confidently, and teacher observe that students are independent and they get the mastery in the complex topics. Now we will understand, where we will discuss the scaffolding stages with some of the classroom examples. So here's we use the example of chapter fraction. It's a math subject. So the first stage is to introduce the topic. So first we introduce the concept of a simple in a relatable way of a fraction. We can use the some of the classroom example here, some of the real life examples. Like here we mentioned the use of chapati. So you can something cut the chapatis into equal parts, so students are able to understand the concept of fraction visually. So you are providing all the support and direct instruction with the help of a real life example, so they can connect with their prior knowledge to the complexity of the concept. And this second stage to support. So we support student as they begin to explore the concept, as they are connecting to their prior knowledge to the knowledge they are going to understand to solve the complex problem. So here you can use the fraction tree, some of the just hint, cues and material. So we can use the fraction trips or drawing to understand the fraction concept easily. Drawing and it also, these are the help the student to understand the relationship between the different fraction. If you use the some of the TLMs related to the fraction, so here we use the support, use as a support like fraction strips and drawing. Then the third is to guide. So this is in this example, the teacher solved the few problem on the board with the class, explaining the each steps is process easily. Then students are encouraged to try the similar problems in pairs, so they can also solve problems and follow the steps individually. You in this stage you can guide the you are guiding the student and so they can familiar with the process to solve the fractions. And this is the critical stage where we start to fade the support and guiding structure. Students are now solving world problems or fraction individually. They are applying what they learned, but they are still, there are a minimal hints you are using in this fading process, because you are fading away the support and guidance. If the student face some of the challenges still, so you can still use the support, the supporting structure, or supporting TLMs or real life examples to understand, to make the complexity understandable for the student. And this is the last stage. So finally the student reach the mastery stage. Student can confidently solve the complex problem and apply their knowledge with the like a student can calculate how much of 1 liter bottle of juice is left after drinking. They can use the concept in the real life world, in the any any real life, like in their home, in their kitchen, while they are eating something together. They can also use the concept of fraction in the real world examples. Now, all right, now I like to open the floor to all the participants. Think about your own teaching experience, or even a time when you learned a new skill, and what is the real world example of scaffolding you used to see in the action, and what is the process looks like all over the process. So you can share your experience, or you can unmute yourself and kindly share your thoughts. Just think about how you broke down the complex task or skill into a very manageable way, and then you gradually fading away the support to the students. So you can share your experience. You can also type your responses in the chat box. If you have any experience, any thoughts, or any opinion, we can go further. So I invite my colleague Chiranjeev to take this session further. Yes, Chiranjeev.
I'm audible, right?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
So again, good evening to all of you. I hope till here you have understood the explanation which Ankur has told you about scaffolding. We started from the definition of scaffolding, then the importance of it, then limitations. Then later on, we learned about what are the key stages of scaffolding from introduced to mastery, the 5 stages, and also we will see that in the next slides that what strategies which we can use to implement the scaffolding process to learn the complex topics, and the examples also the examples with examples we will see how you can implement it into your classroom as well. And also I will request please be participative, because for us as a facilitator it is also motivative for us as well to like have a audience which interact. So now let's look at the scaffolding strategies. So there are 6 strategies. The first one is just a minute. The first one is modeling. Modeling is I do part of the teaching, as Ankura was mentioning. Like we start in the scaffolding, I do, we do, and you do. So it is the I do part of the teaching process. It's when you explicitly show students how to do something step by step while explaining your thought process. For example, you might work through a math problem on the board and verbalize every decision you are making, so that making it more clearly visible or verbally visible for students to get the point. And the benefit is that students get a clear guide example of the entire process before they have to try it their own way. So this is what called modeling. The second is think aloud. So as name suggests, it is similar to modeling. Think aloud makes your internal thought process visible and audible. For example, when reading a text, you might say, I'm a little confused by this paragraph. I'm going to reread the last sentences to see if I missed a clue. With this, you are also saying, and also whatever you are thinking, you are saying it out loud. So benefit is that students learn metacognitive skills. They learn how to monitor their own understanding and what to do when they get stuck. So this is what think aloud is all about. The next one is questioning. As name also suggests, every questioning is directly related to question. Effective questioning is a powerful scaffolding tool here. It's not about giving students the answer, about guiding them to find it themselves. So we're not just asking them question, but encouraging them to find the answers themselves. So instead of saying, For example, the answer is 12. You might ask what you have tried so far to get that particular answer. What's the next logical step to get to those answers? So here the benefit is that it promotes students to think critically and guides them towards a solution without doing the work from them. So you can see slowly we are also moving from, like, if you compare with the key stages, we are slowly moving towards making them independent here. The next strategy is graphic organizer. Graphic organizer, as you can take example of any kind of visual aids or any TLMs, you can say. We term this as a graphic organizer, or it can be a visual thing. So these are the visual tools that help students organize information and see the relationship between ideas. You can provide a Venn diagram, as I already mentioned, like TLMs, Venn diagrams, that help students to compare and contrast two topics, and or any can be, it can be on the storyboard, or outline it with the help of TLMs. The benefit is that they reduce cognitive load by structuring complex information. So whatever complex information you are using, by the visual graphics, you are reducing the load of, like, whatever complex topic is there. So that is called a graphic organizer. The next one is chunking. Chunking is about breaking down a large task. Suppose there is a very large task is there, or any complex topic is there, you are just breaking it down into more manageable pieces so that the students can understand. For major, so like for example, if you see in the major research paper, you might first have students choose a topic. So in the research papers, you see students first choose a topic, then they create an outline, and finally write one paragraph at a time, or any, they move forward with the topic. So benefit is that it prevents the student from just a minute. So yeah, so here the benefit is that it prevents students from feeling overwhelmed and allows them to focus on one skill at a time. The next one is, the last one is peer support. So in the peer support, as name suggests, it lowers, like, it mainly focuses on the power of collaboration. You can pair students with the different skills level so that they can work together and learn together. The more advanced students can guide their peers, whoever is lagging behind, and both students get benefited from the peer support, like one by receiving support and one by giving them supports. And the benefit is that it creates a low stake environment for students to learn from each other. So here we have learned about the key strategies after learning the key stages of scaffolding, from modeling, think aloud, questioning, graphic organizer, chunking, and peer support. So in the next slide, we will see how we can implement the key stages of scaffolding into the stages of the strategies of scaffolding together. So this slide an excellent example or summary of how to connect specific strategies with the stages of scaffolding. It brings everything we have discussed so far into a single actionable framework. So it is a framework. You can see in the stages, all the stages has been given on the screen, and the strategy part, all the strategies we have given. Then teachers move are given. Then what student will do their action, that is given, and also the tools and resources which you can use is given on the slide. So if you see the column first in the introduce stage, I hope that you are able to see. We will later on also share the deck as well. So for better understanding, you can take reference from that also. So in the introduce stage, the teacher uses modeling with concrete material. In the strategy part, you can see modeling and concrete material is given. So the teacher directly shows the concept using fraction strings, and the student's job is to simply observe and absorb. So in the first stage, as mentioned, we are introducing whatever complex topic with the modeling thought, and are they able to absorb or not, and whether they are absorbing or not. Then the second part is to moving to the support stage. The teacher add a graphic organizer, then a cut chart. Students are now beginning to participate by completing a guided worksheet, but they still have those tools to fall back. The next is in the guide stage. The teacher shifts to using questioning and peer support. The questions push students to think critically, and working in a pair allows them to learn from each other. The teacher is now a facilitator, not the sole source of information. So now teacher is only facilitating in the guide part. Not they are not totally dependent on the teacher. And the next is the fate stage, where the teacher uses gradual release. We are now removing all the scaffolding or all the supports gradually here. And the graphic organizer here and peer support are removed. The teacher's only tool is success criteria card. So whatever goal you have set is the only criteria card for the or tool for the students, and encouraging students to solve problems independently. Finally, in the mastery stage, the task is completely independent to make them more independent in the mastery stage. Students are now ready to produce their own work, creating a mini poster that demonstrates their full understanding of the concept without any support. So till here, I hope that you have understood how you can use key stages of scaffolding with the strategies which we have mentioned here, and simultaneously you can implement that into your class. So if you have any questions or doubt, you can ask here, or we can move forward with the session. Better understand, we will also take an example and practice session at the end. So if you have any question, you can put in the chat box. So moving to the next section, which is the connection part. So in the next slide, here in the next section, we will connect alternative assessment with the scaffolding part, like how it is connected with the assessment, the scaffolding. So we often think about scaffolding as the process of getting students to a certain point of understanding, right? But what happens once they are there? And this is where the connection is alternative assessment comes in. Here we will see the first one is in the left hand side. You see the outcome with the alternative assessment. So the product students create to demonstrate their mastery is what called alternative assessment. So these aren't just quizzes or tests. They are projects, portfolios, and presentations. They are tasks that require students to apply their knowledge in meaningful, authentic. So this is what alternative assessment we have already talked in the earlier session, the first session. Now you see in the right hand side the scaffolding. So scaffolding, as Ankur has already mentioned, is the process to support system that gets the students to their gradual goals. So it's the journey from introduce to mastery, which we have already mentioned in the key stages, and all the steps we have been talking about, from modeling and guiding to fading support. So at the end, if we talk about the connection between these, so it is what, like, the key takeaways if we take here from is that scaffolding and alternative assessments are two sides of the same. You can't have high quality or authentic assessment without providing the necessary scaffolding to help students succeed. The scaffolding is the process and the alternative assessment is the product. When you intentionally connect the two, you are not just testing what students know. You are creating a learning environment where every student has the support they need to reach their full potential. So by this, you can understand that what is the connection between alternative assessment and scaffolding, why it is necessary. Scaffolding is the support process, while alternative assessment is the ultimate goal or outcome which we want to achieve for our students, right? So I hope that till here you have understood what the whole process is about, from the definition, from key stages and strategies. Now, at the last stages of this session, we will practice what we have learned till here. So I will request all of you to please be participative to and also see what we are trying to achieve with the activities. So we'll start with a case study. So take a look at the screen. We have a class 6 teacher who is teaching the concept of separation of substances, right? The students are learning methods like filtration, evaporation, hand picking in this particular section here in the case study. The challenge is a familiar one here. Students can memorize the definition and the steps for each method, but they struggle to connect these abstract ideas to the real life applications. They can't answer the question like why is this method the best one to use for this specific problem. So they are learning the what, but not learning the why. So in this case study, I would like you all to reflect on what it is saying. If you can think about this case study, and later on in the next slide, we will see what we can how we can implement it into the key stages and strategies framework which we have made. So I hope that let's take few seconds, and in the next slide we will see how you can implement it into the framework which we have made. Moving on, I hope that it is clear to all of you. So earlier we have talked about the framework, and we have seen how with the example of fractions also Ankur has introduced here. In the case study, we are using the example of separation of substances. So that is the case in the case study. So here you have to answer in each stages from introduce to mastery, what steps as a teacher you will take for this particular problem in the stages of like separation of substances. So I will start with the introduce stage. So what do you think in the strategy? The strategy is given is modeling. So what would be the teacher's move? If anybody can share their thought, please be participative. Yes, it will be really fruitful for you also. What do you think? What could be the first step? Okay, so in the first stage, we can see that in the introduce stage, that teacher uses modeling here. So the teacher shows the students exactly how filtration works using a real life example of muddy water. So we have used a example of muddy water here. So this isn't just a static diagram. It is an active demonstration of that helps students to connect with the abstract concept to create process they can observe. Right now, let's see in the support. Here we are using visual aids like visual or guided notes for supporting the students with the whole idea of separation of substance. So what do you think? Anybody? What would be the next step? So here the next step is like by giving them visual aids and guiding notes, students diagram and real world examples. The teacher is providing a visual reference by doing the activity. Thank you, sir. So this helps students to organize the information and give them the tool they can refer back to their work. So moving ahead, we will see in the guide. We come to the guide step. So here we are using questions. So with the questioning, what do you think? Which method would you use to separate here? So in the guide stage, you can see which method would you use. Like we can take the example of like taking rice out of stores. Right. So the question requires students to think, not just to memorize it. So in the guide stage, we have seen this. In the failed stage, we see that gradually we are taking like support from the students. Students are now giving different mixtures and must choose the correct separation method independently here, right? The teacher is still present here, but the guidance is less direct and encouraging students to rely on their own reasoning here. Now we come to the mastery stage, which is finally like we get to when this stage students are doing their own task, performing the task. They have to design and present their own separation stations and explain their choosing method. This task proves them they have not only mastered the content but have developed the skills to apply it and communicate their understanding. So it's true demonstration of the deep independent learning. So I hope that with this it is clear that how you can implement the key stages of scaffolding from introduce to the mastery, and later on you may also introduce in each stages or the strategies which we have explained here into your classroom, and explain the complex topics more smoothly and more in an easy way. So we have come to the end of this session, but before the ending, we want some reflection from your side, and it is purely reflection. So we will start one by one. First, let's like when you talk about the scaffolding stages. So what do you think? Which stage do you think your students struggle the most with any kind of concept? Or is it the beginning of the any stages like in introduce stage or at the end of the mastery stage? What do you think? At between which stage your students or you get trouble with? Is anybody they can share their thoughts? So let's move ahead. The next one is to like when we go back to the case study. So if students are failing to connect the separation method to the real life, so how could you like modify the stages as per your views and reflections? What new tools, visuals, or examples could you introduce to help them bridge the gap? Anybody can what do you think? Or tools which you can use in the classroom make this particular case study more better to understand with related to the separation of substances? No problem. The next one is when we think about the true mastery. So in your specific subject, what kind of performance task would you use to replace a traditional test or rote assessment? For example, instead of multiple choice quizzes, could students design an experiment, create a presentation, or build model like we have already mentioned in the first session regarding performance-based assessment, right? So that kind of assessment, what do you think? What would be the in the true mastery stage? What would be the most better way or good way to understand what students have learned? So if you want to share your thoughts, you can also share it in the I think WhatsApp group. You can share your thoughts as well, or you can use the feedback form as well. So at the end, for summarizing today's session, first we remember that scaffolding is all about temporary support, and the second is the process is defined by gradual release. You move students from being fully guided by you to a place that they are independent. So from guiding by you to independent student which they are doing their own task in their own way, and there is a excellence in the mastery of their whatever lessons they have learned so far. The third one is we explored key several strategies to do this, including modeling, asking effective questions, and breaking down complex informations. And at the end, and like finally, the ultimate goal is to foster independence. So when done well, scaffolding builds confidence and turns your students into self-reliant, lifelong learners. So in the next session will be on 13th of September. The topic is integrating multimodal learning. So I invite you all again for the next session on the 13th of September at the same time. Close the session here for today. Thank you again, teachers.